It's been more than 2 decades since the brutal rape and murder of a little girl named Joan Bil. You may not remember it, but a grieving mother will never forget.
Her crusade to keep those who rape and murder children from being released on parole may soon be over. I-Team investigator Joe Collum is here now with that story tonight. Joe?
Well, Ernie, the murder of a child is probably the worst tragedy a parent ever has to endure. And even if the killer is sent to prison, the tragedy is often kept alive by the parole process. But in New Jersey, that will no longer be the case, thanks to one woman.
She is a child frozen in time, murdered at age 7. Rosemarie D'Alessandro laid her daughter Joan to rest 24 years ago, but she has not been able to bury her pain.
It was very upsetting because it was like a flashback of what happened. All of a sudden, you just reminded of it in such intensity.
It happened on an April day in 1973. Joan D'Alessandro was selling Girl Scout cookies when she came to this house, 3 doors from her own. Joseph McGowan, a high school biology teacher, raped and strangled the little girl. He was convicted and sent to prison for life. McGowan has never uttered a word of remorse. Yet after serving 20 years in prison, he became eligible for parole in 1993. Twice, Rosemarie D'Alessandro has won fights to keep him behind bars. But each time, the joy of victory was muted by her reawakened heartache.
I thought it was it was cruel to have to go through that. But then I knew, after I got upset, like for a few minutes, then I had to do something.
We have a mission.
With the help of hundreds of supporters, D'Alessandro launched a crusade for a law to deny parole to anyone who sexually assaults and murders a child in New Jersey.
What I wanted to accomplish was that there would be no appeals for these people, because we will always have to deal with appeals. And I wouldn't want that to happen to other people.
We do it out of love for our children because our kids deserve so much more than they got.
Maureen Kanka's daughter, Megan, was raped and murdered 3 years ago. Kanka turned her anguish into Megan's Law, which forces convicted sex offenders to register with police where they live. She knows what drives Rosemarie D'Alessandro.
People see people like Rose and myself, before the cameras, and we sit there and we fight for something. But they don't see us behind closed doors. It's raw, and we cry a lot, we grieve a lot, and it never goes away.
The only opposition to Joans Bill is on constitutional grounds, that it denies individual defendants due process.
Our objection to bills such as this is that they create a mandatory minimum sentence, and we've always opposed those because we believe that sentencing ought to be done on an individual case-by-case basis.
Despite opposition, Rosemarie D'Alessandro's 4-year fight will likely end next month with enactment of Joan's Law.
That is the legacy that Rosemarie wants for Joan, is that in an angelic way, her daughter is reaching out to help other children.
A few months ago, D'Alessandro discovered this 1903 painting in an antique store. A young girl reaching out to the mountains and the sky.
To me, that's Joan. That's Joan showing promise, showing hope. Joans Bil will be like the beginning for change. It'll be like it's hope. And that's what that painting, meant to me.
D'Alessandro plans to hang the painting in her home the day Joan's Law becomes reality.
And just today, the New Jersey Senate passed Joan's Law, which will deny parole to anyone who sexually molests and murders a child. It will not, however, affect Joan's killer because the law only affects new cases. Brenda?